Okay, what if one of the most powerful influences on our health isn't some new pill or a complicated diet, but literally the ground right beneath our feet? Today, we are diving into a really fascinating study that explores our fundamental connection to the planet, and it asks a pretty big question. What have we lost in our modern, disconnected lives? I mean, really think about it for a second. You've got the rubber soles on your shoes, the insulated floors in our homes, our cars, our offices. Most of us can go for days, maybe even weeks, without ever making direct skin contact with the Earth's surface. Electrically speaking, we're totally cut off. So, does that actually matter? Well, that's the exact question that physicians Karol and Pavel Sokol wanted to answer in this 2011 paper. They decided to move past all the theories and actually measure, scientifically measure, what happens inside the human body when you restore that electrical connection to the Earth. So how in the world do you test something like that, in a way that's credible and scientific? Well, the researchers designed a really clever and rigorous experiment to get real answers, and that's what we're going to break down right now. First off, let's get our main terms straight. When this study talks about earthing, it's not just about, hanging out outside. It specifically means connecting our body to the Earth's electrical potential. And to do that, they used a simple copper conductor to make sure that connection was consistent and totally measurable. Now, to make sure the results were the real deal, the researchers used the absolute gold standard of clinical trials, a double-blind method. Here's how it worked. Some people were genuinely connected to the Earth, but a control group was hooked up to a fake broken wire. And here's the kicker. Neither the participants nor the scientists running the test knew who was in which group. This is so important because it gets rid of any placebo effect, ensuring the changes they saw were real. Okay, so the stage is set. What did they actually find? Well, the first set of discoveries was pretty remarkable, and it came from analyzing the subject's blood after just a single night of being earthed. Get this. After just 8 hours of sleeping, while connected to the Earth, researchers saw significant changes in how the body was handling calcium and phosphorus. And remember, these are the fundamental building blocks for our bones and the very fuel for our cells' energy. So the levels of calcium and phosphorus in the blood went down. And the amount the body was getting rid of in urine also went down. What that tells us is that the body wasn't just losing these minerals, it was probably holding on to them more effectively, maybe storing them in the skeleton. And what's really interesting is that the researchers point out this is the exact opposite of what happens to astronauts in zero gravity who start losing bone minerals really fast. But it didn't just stop with minerals. Not even close. The study also dug into how earthing might affect our hormones, our blood sugar, and even our immune system. Let's see what they found. Now, this is fascinating. What we're seeing here is a shift in the thyroid system, which is basically our body's master metabolism regulator. The active hormone, T3, decreased, while its precursor, T4, went up. This might suggest the body was becoming more efficient, maybe dialing back its metabolic rate just a bit after only one night of being connected to the Earth. Okay, but this next part might be one of the most striking results in the entire paper. The researchers also ran an experiment with a group of patients who had non-insulin-dependent diabetes and were struggling to control their blood sugar. Just look at that number. After only 72 hours of being continuously earthed, the patient's average fasting blood sugar dropped by a staggering 28%. That is a huge drop, and it suggests that a connection to the Earth might have a really direct and powerful effect on how our bodies use sugar. So the final piece of this puzzle came from an experiment that looked at the immune system. What they did was they gave volunteers a vaccine and then had half of them sleep while earthed to see if it changed how their bodies responded. And the key finding is right here. The earthed group showed a big increase in gamma globulins. In plain English, gamma globulins are basically antibodies. So this suggests that being in contact with the Earth might actually help trigger a stronger and faster immune response, right when your body needs it most. So you take all of this data together, the changes in minerals, hormones, blood sugar, immunity. What is the big takeaway? Well, the researchers did not hold back in their conclusion. I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. That is a powerful statement. They're proposing that our electrical connection to the Earth might not just be some minor influence. It could be a primary factor that helps regulate our entire physiology, from our hormones to our nerves. A fundamental connection that, for the most part, we've completely severed in the modern world. And that leaves us with a really provocative final thought. If our biology evolved over millions of years with this constant connection, this constant electrical signal from the Earth, what are the long-term consequences of living our lives almost completely insulated from it? This research definitely gives us a lot to think about.